I'm going to tell you something. In my opinion, Kirk Cousins is the essence of a trap player. And some people might say, well, what does that mean? Well, for me, what that means is those are the types of players. You can find these in any sport. Well, mostly you find them in basketball and football, because baseball kind of what it is, kind of sort of. But my explanation for that is you have these guys who put up numbers, right? And at the end of the season, you look at him, wow, he threw for 4,000 yards. Wow, he threw for 3,900 yards. Wow, he threw for 32 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, or whatever it is, right? But for whatever reason, you look up and the wins, the wins and losses just don't make you, So you look at the contract that, Cousins just got 2-year extension worth $66 million. $61 million of it is fully guaranteed, right? I'm going to tell you something, and people have been, there have been a couple of people said it this, for veteran quarterback Josh McCown said it, questioning the ability of Kirk Cousins to truly lead. Now, Josh McCown was talking about his anti-vaccination status and his stance on that, which is really kind of weird, because if you go back to last year, Cousins is the guy who literally said, if I die from COVID, I die from COVID. It is what it is. Sometimes there's an intangible aspect to a guy that affects, negatively impacts their leadership. And especially at the quarterback position, it causes the sort of imbalance from a chemistry standpoint that is oftentimes the difference between winning and losing close games, because you don't have the entire locker room behind you. Case in point. Now, I'm not going to point this guy out as like the most level-headed guy in the room, but you got guys like Everson Griffin, when he's not even a part of the team anymore, before he ended up having to eat crow and come back to the team. He's calling Kirk Cousins booty. I mean, the chemistry with the head coach is not strong, even though Mike Zimmer's got probably his own situation going on. I just don't see Kirk Cousins as the kind of winning style quarterback from an intangible standpoint to take the Minnesota Vikings franchise to where they need to be. I point out something that happened rookie season for Justin Jefferson last year. Obviously, we know what kind of year Justin Jefferson had, right? There's a pass in the end zone. The ball is so poorly thrown, just nowhere in the world for Justin Jefferson to get it. You hear him yell out, "Dang, Kirk!"
Yeah, throw the flag, because there's a flag. I remember that.
Yeah. So now you tell me, what elite level leadership style quarterback in the NFL would any young wide receiver have ever called out in that way and so audibly in the middle of a game? Can you think of another one that a young quarterback would have taken that kind of a stance with him on the totem pole, so to speak, of the squad? I mean, that kind of call out is what you hear Tom Brady yelling at his receivers. Is what you hear Aaron Rodgers yelling at his receivers. I don't even hear Devontae Adams yelling, "Aaron, throw the what? Aaron, roll over here, bro." Like, you don't hear that. And to me, that kind of thing, that kind of moment is a microcosm of where Kirk Cousins just kind of is in the eyes of his teammates. I don't know. You tell me, what do you see?
Yeah, I think those Everson Griffin tweets back in January, we're coming off a missed playoffs, like it happens every other year with the Vikings. That right there kind of embodies what this team has been. They've always been good, not great, making the playoffs every year. Kirk Cousins is a 500 overall quarterback in his career. He's continued to hover there. And those Everson Griffin tweets kind of gave a foundation for what we've been hearing about Mike Zimmer not wanting Kirk Cousins back when they signed him in 2018. Now those two are completely wed together. And, this franchise, at least the future of it, is so far their trajectory, those two have linked fate. So if one goes, I believe both will go. But, I think with all the questions around Kirk and his leadership ability, he's always kind of been, a very robotic guy. Justin Jefferson said he had no swagger this offseason compared to Joe Burrow. And, there's just kind of he lacks this like vocal leadership and presence as like, kind of being someone that the entire team can rally around. And then
he's a strange guy.
Yeah, he is. He's interestingly enough, this is just kind of like a little quirk on the side, but I have a good friend who's a avid Dallas Cowboys fan, and I'm telling him I told him Trayvon Diggs isn't going to pick Kirk off, and we got a little wager on the side for that, and I started sending him videos of Kirk Cousins in his he's like a high school he's in the theater program in his high school, so I have all these videos of Kirk in musicals, singing on Broadway and things like that. And my friend's like, man, I swear if we don't beat this guy, he's gonna be pissed. But lately, Kirk has been playing to an extremely high level, and I think at a certain point, his leadership is starting to take form on the field, especially this season in particular. Because last season he started the year poorly. He led the league in interceptions, 11 interceptions through the first 6 games of the season, going into the bye. His status as a starter was even questionable, even though we all knew we're not starting Sean Mannion over Kirk Cousins, not when you pay this man that much money. And he's had a great run since that bye week last year, and starting this season he's led about 4 potential game-winning drives. 2 have been foiled by a Dalvin Cook fumble and a missed kick against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals were a mid 30-yard field goal away from losing to the Vikings. And I think the Vikings season and the image of this franchise would have a totally different landscape if those 2 plays didn't happen. But at the same time, we can't just count 2 plays and say, oh, if these 2 things didn't happen, the Vikings would be 5-1, 6-0, that type of thing. Because the team has not performed, and that can also be reflective back on Kirk. But he is proving that he can lead the team, at least through a small stretch of games. And again, coming out of this bye week, I think it's going to be extremely telling of where this franchise is going in the future.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like when you look at Kirk Cousins, is the first thing that pops into your head franchise quarterback. and I'm not even talking about just looking at him just, from the metrics and the physical attributes and all that, because he has that. But just when you just look at him, demeanor on the field, all of it, the way his teammates respond to him, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Kirk Cousins doesn't scare any defense, I don't think. I don't think he does. I just don't. And so we'll see. But I think he is the absolute epitome of a trap player. I think his anti-vax status or stance makes it tougher because of the way the rules are set up. It's you already have these issues necessarily relating and dealing with your team and leading them from a social and communication standpoint. But now we're injecting this whole concept where you have to be dealt with differently because of this. I don't know.
Modes of transportation, meals. I think everything. All that stuff comes you might, I don't know if he's in a separate locker room, but there's all these different measures that they may have to take with these guys.
Right. And now imagine that kind of environment after a tough loss where he's throwing 2 interceptions. You're not in the locker room. What is Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook talking about? And you just threw 2 interceptions and you're not even there because this is not a cute situation.